Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hi, Michaela.
Hello, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I hear you well.
Very
Thank
good.
you. So, I believe we can wait a couple more minutes so everyone can join because basically people like opening their emails, found notifications, and join the call. And while we're waiting for, hello, Fuad. Hi, Sanam. While we are waiting for others, let's make some networking. I believe that it will be nice to connect to each other at LinkedIn. We can share that in a chat actually. So check if it's work. Can you send something in chat? Yeah, and I will be adding everyone who joined the session today. Yes, because it's always nice to stay connected. Thank you, Michaela, for your LinkedIn as well. And Ilya. Mm. Okay, one more minute to start. So, as chat is working, I believe the main idea would be if you have any questions, you can send your question in chat. And later on this wonderful event, I don't know, webinar, I cannot say it webinar because we have not only a webinar part, but also a live session where you, or some of you, one of you would become a Michaela's one-on-one like a client, I don't know, and we can all sit and see how the like training session is going on. And for me, it's always very insightful, even might be more than webinars, but let's see how it will go today. We had one session, one guy get an offer right after a couple of weeks after the session. So we have those type of conversation, but it was like a longer one, not like 15 minutes as we planned for today, but it was like 1 hour and a half maybe. So everyone been listening and cannot imagine how this guy still not hired, but then after a couple of weeks he found his job. Okay, so now it's time, and let me firstly introduce myself and the Nerds Bay a little bit because I believe there's like not all people knows who we are. My name is Julia. I'm a founder of Nerds Bay, and I established this company, and I would say more like a community in 2019. So we start like keeping people around and join for different events for already like 6 years. And we've been always at Nurse Bay helping people to be hired in Finland. So from the beginning, we helped Finnish companies to find international talents, relocate them to Finland. Then we switched to job fairs event. And for now, since 2023, we believe that employer of record is the best option to people who lives in Finland right now. And I will explain what is that. Employer of record is an option, a legal path for you to stay in Finland, work remotely for a company outside of Finland, and still be considered as employee, not as an entrepreneur. That's give you an opportunity to apply for specialist residence permit and apply for permanent resident permit on a work grounds, not an entrepreneur grounds, because the processes are super different for people. And of course, it's also different, like a feeling when you're entrepreneur and specialist worker. You have much more benefits when you are working for the company, not for your own. So, and today I'm already going to introduce our wonderful speaker for today. It's Michaela Kettner. Michaela has 10 over 10 years of experience for international corporates, and she's been working from the beginning in Germany and then switched to Finland and grow her career here. She's been working as a team leader and hiring manager, and so you understand that if it's a hiring manager, so she knows what companies exactly looking for in your CVs and LinkedIn's. So that's also like her very fundamental base from what he is creating her webinar. And yeah, but after that, Michaela certified as a career development coach and NLP practitioner. So now she supports people who are struggling with job search, and she has her hints, she has her words to support your job search. So I'm finishing my words. Thank you for listening. And Michaela, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Julia, for the super nice introduction. I mean, I'm super happy to be here. And I think also, as we shared earlier, I found it so important and impressive what you are doing with your company to create that possibility for people about that remote work. And yeah, I hope you can hear me well. I have put an additional microphone here because there was a little renovation ongoing in my building this morning. I hope they will not drill anymore now, but I hope it just in case maybe the background noise is filtered out and the microphone would do. I think it's great that we have those LinkedIn profiles already into the chat. It would just be very cool if people could also let me know from where are you watching at the moment. Are you based in Finland? Are you based in Sweden? And maybe also what kind of industry are you working in? So is it IT? Is it marketing? Is it finance? Is it anything else? It would just be super cool for me to get a little bit a hint of who are the people here I'm talking to. Okay, first one, Finland, IT and HR. And while you are typing, I try to share my screen, and hopefully this is working. That looks good. Can you see something now? Is something coming?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so
presentation.
Amazing. If the technique is working, that's already the most important, the most important thing. All right. So yeah, I mean, I'm super happy to give that webinar for you here today. And as the title says, it's about preparing for a successful remote career move. And I see already we have a lot of people from Finland, from the IT, performance marketing, privacy, compliance. Okay, based actually in Brussels, in Helsinki every 2 months. Very interesting. IT as well, QA engineering, from Espoo, digital health, software sales. Okay, super, super interesting. But I think mainly from Finland and maybe not somebody here from Sweden, at least as I can see. But then let's get started. So, I mean, the idea of that webinar is that what you will learn here today is maybe one of my favorite topics. I always love to talk about why mindset and resilience are so important, because they directly affect your job searching results. So it's super important to be aware of things. That's also why I always like to combine those career coaching aspects with psychological aspects. And we will dive in how to position yourself with confidence, super important. We'll learn very soon why. And I will also give you the practical strategies for your job search to really match what companies are looking for, because basically that is what's all about. Yeah, I sometimes say finding a job is like dating. There are two people who are looking for a perfect match, and basically with the recruiting, it's nothing else that you have a company who's looking for an ideal candidate and a job seeker, of course, who's looking for the ideal job. And the question is, how do they find together? How do they match? And yeah, as Julia said already, there will be the possibility to do a little short live coaching with me on a one-on-one basis. So if you feel brave and say, hey, I would like to volunteer for that, maybe because you're currently thinking about applying for a remote job, or you have written a specific application already and you would like to go that through, or now while I am talking here and sharing with you some tips and hacks where you think, I've actually not considered that yet, hey, that would be a super good thing. How could I really do that myself in my application, in my profile? Then we will just then do the little shout out of who wants to be our volunteer in maybe, let's say maybe 20-30 minutes from now, after I've went through the content. So if you feel that is you, then I think then you can just raise your hand, and yeah, we could do that together. All right. I think we've also now got a couple of people at least from Sweden, but as the majority is here in Finland, also mean to introduce that topic a little bit from that side. I think we all have seen those figures a lot very recently, right? So Finland really hitting the point of having the highest unemployment rate in entire Europe. Higher than Spain, higher than Greece or any southern countries. Sweden actually also not in that good standing, on place number 3 with still an unemployment of 9.1%. And of course, so many people are at the moment talking about how the economics in Finland is decreasing, how a lot of companies are facing layoff waves. So, of course, it is already very challenging for us internationals here, not just because of the economic situation, but of course, what comes on top is a language barrier that we might have, right? So not just the fact that number of jobs are decreasing, but then, of course, if there are jobs, it's always the question, oh, is there actually fluency in Finnish, or maybe in Sweden, fluency in Swedish required that would hinder us to get such a job? So therefore, I think it's a really valid question then to consider, all right, if I look outside that area, Finland, Sweden, and explore maybe this worldwide web or worldwide network of remote jobs and possibilities to work remotely, of course, it's clear that there are plenty of more opportunities. But it's also, of course, I mean, certain chances come with certain risks as well, right? Or certain threats. So if you think about that, nowadays in Finland, we see maybe only a few jobs that get published every week or even every month. And once there is an open position open, it might easily be that you have 150 to maybe even 500 applicants. That was also what I was seeing as a hiring manager. Then, of course, if you think about, okay, now if I go to that possibility and exploring jobs that are available remotely and available worldwide, of course, it sounds first very cool because you have plenty of jobs there. But that, of course, also comes with the challenge that those jobs are visible to thousands or 10,000s or even millions of people, and you might have thousands of applicants for one role. So the question is, of course, first, how do you focus on actually where to apply and what would be the right jobs for you where you would really have a chance? And then still, if you have so many applicants for one position, how do you make it to stand out? And well, that challenge of standing out, if I briefly come to my person, if you still wonder who am actually I to tell you that, that topic of standing out has always been, let's say, my main issue during my own professional career. And I think I have done quite a transition with that, because a picture here on the left that shows me in 2008, where I had just started to study physics at the university. And maybe you can see it from my body language in that picture. I was a super shy person. I mean, I would have liked to vanish in this white clothing that I'm wearing there. I was always the most comfortable behind other people, behind a big screen or behind my books. I was not able at all to stand out and to present myself well. It was then something that came later when I then started a new job, when I had a manager that gave me a chance, when I observed a little bit people around me of, hey, how or what are they actually doing? How does it actually work to survive in the job market, to survive in an office environment? And then when I made the decision in 2019 to move to Finland just on my own, I actually super quickly got a job in Fortum. I mean, they were also more thinking, I think, for or looking for a Finnish person, but it was just that I was able to present my qualifications and the knowledge that I had in a way that they were actually saying to me at that point in time, oh, we would be stupid if we would not consider you for that position. And I basically, in Fortum, my career proceeded up to the fact that I became a team leader and a hiring manager myself. And that was then also the very important learning insight that I had from that other angle of not only applying for jobs myself successfully, but then also seeing, okay, if I have a position open and 100, 200 people apply for that role, what are actually the job applications that stands out? Yeah, what is attracting me as a hiring manager to invite a person to a job interview? And this is basically what I'm teaching people nowadays and in my job as a career coach that I'm now running on a full-time basis. So with all these certifications that I have as a career coach, but then also from the NLP side, so neuro-linguistic programming, that is bringing together those psychological angles as well, because there it is a lot about self-confidence, about what do you think about yourself and what actually enables you to say, hey, I have those and those skills. I can bring this value to the table, to say that confidently. And of course, with that, also increasing the chances to land a job. So what I would like to clarify here first, of course, especially when it comes to the case of you would like to get a remote job and you apply for jobs that are available worldwide, really the question, where do you focus on? And how does that affect your outcome? And I think I maybe teased it now already a bit, but it is just, let's say, a very natural psychological effect that, let's say, if we are confronted with a certain challenge in our life, yeah, that can be a super tough job market or an unemployment that we're having now for a while, or then this possibility of, okay, I go and explore remote jobs, but then I see on those platforms, okay, there are so many possibilities, I don't even know where to start. So this feeling of being overwhelmed and struggling with a certain situation, that those kind of thoughts, they easily proceed into, okay, I'm actually doubting what I'm doing here. I have doubts in, okay, will I really succeed with this? I get more and more insecure if I'm able to succeed with this, which then, of course, naturally results in, hey, my self-confidence is, of course, also going down. If I have those doubts every day and not being sure, am I actually good enough? Can I actually ever land a position? Of course, that does something with me and with my own self-confidence. But the problem is then that this surfaces, of course, because if your own self-confidence goes down, this results in less and less ability that you are able to recognize your own strength. Because if your brain is dominated by doubts, I mean, you cannot at the same time feel super self-confident and say, hey, yeah, of course, I can do this and I'm able to bring this value to the table. Yeah, if it's more about those insecurities. But of course, if something like happens and this is this kind of downward spiral, of course, that then decreases your chances even more to land a position. And that's the problem with that. So the question is a bit how to get out of this downward spiral again, how to adjust your mindset to the way of, hey, I actually know how to stabilize my self-confidence. I know how to stabilize my own mental state. because what you actually need to achieve, or what you actually need to keep in mind, is that the higher the competition is, the clearer in communicating your strengths and achievements you need to be. That you really have to nail it. And I now show you a slide that I will pull here up a couple of times. And this is really what I would like you to dream about tonight, that you have to be specific as hell. Yeah, I think most of you live in Helsinki, therefore the little wordplay, but I really would like you to remember that you have to be specific as hell. And that means not just listing your skills. And how you get there, we will clarify that in the next couple of minutes. But as a first, let's say, little thought experiment, I would like you to think about following example. Maybe that could be a possible remote job. This is entirely a product of my fantasy, but I think that example might work very well, because I think this is something that everyone can imagine. This is not too specific in terms of industry terminology or something. So let's say, imagine there would be a remote job that a hotel in Germany is looking for a Spanish-speaking social media content creator to improve their marketing on Instagram. That could be one possible remote job, right? And what I would now like you to do is that you put yourself into the shoes of the hiring manager. Let's say you're part of the management of that hotel for many years already. This house is super important to you, and now you're hiring such a candidate. So take the perspective, not the one of the job seeker, but take the perspective of the hiring manager. Which of the following candidates that I'm showing you now would you hire, or which one would you find the most attractive for that role? When the hotel is saying that remote job is about, we look for a Spanish-speaking social media content creator to improve our marketing on Instagram. So let's say we would have a first candidate here, native Spanish and experience in Instagram content creation and marketing. Give me a yes into the chat if you would think that person could be good for that role. Could be. Nice diplomatic answer. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. I mean, on the first glance, depends on what experience. Okay, very good already. I mean, on the first glance, the person has what is required in the open position, right? They said, hey, we need a native Spanish speaking person, and we want to do our marketing on Instagram. So that person obviously has that. But of course, as you are saying, let's see how others are. And of course, if you have such a position open, 95% of the people might have the same profile. We have a second candidate here, a native Spanish as well, with 5 years of experience in Instagram content creation marketing for several hotels in entire Europe. So let's say candidate 201, which one would you prefer? Even better. Yeah. Second. 2 so far. I like the so far. Candidate number 3. A native Spanish too, with 5 years of experience in Instagram content creation and marketing for several hotels in Europe as well. And she says she managed to increase the customer leads by 30%. So out of those 3, I mean, what would be your choice? 1, 2, or 3? 3 now. 3, 3. Yeah. I mean, that sounds really good, right? That already sounds like a concrete achievement. 2 and 3 to be tested. Will we have an I know. All right. I think most of the people for 3. But I mean, I'm a little mean here, right? So there's actually a candidate number 4. And he says, okay, I'm a native Spanish 2 with 5 years of experience in Instagram content creation and marketing for several hotels in Europe. I managed to increase the customer leads by 30% within the first 8 weeks. So now again, the question, out of those 4, which candidate would you go with? Of course, 4. It only gets better. Well, of course. I can also tell you it's not always like that in a recruiting process, that every CV gets better while you're reading through it. But what he's doing after that, well, that's of course a question you need to ask in an interview, right? But of course, and I hope you see what is happening here, the more concrete you get with those concrete achievements and specific as hell, basically, of course, and the more attractive you become. And of course, if you are in that position of the hiring manager for that hotel, very naturally you would go with this candidate number 4. I think that's a no-brainer now if you see the full list. But the problem is just, and this is what I am seeing all the time, also with the people that I have in my coachings. And maybe that is also true for all here of you in your specific field of working. That also all of you, you are actually also such a candidate number 4. But the problem is that your own profile looks like a candidate 1. Because what is very often missing there in many CVs and in many profiles of people that I have seen are those concrete strengths and results and achievements and values then that people can bring to the table. Yeah, so meaning that you're probably not yet that specific as hell, that maybe if you would apply for that job, your profile still says something similar like this candidate 1 of, hey, I have this skill, I can do this, I have an education in that. But without those super specific things that are actually making an attractive candidate and making you standing out if you apply for a job. And now it's of course the question, how do you recognize your own strength and concrete achievements? Yeah, how do you create such a profile, or how do you communicate in a way like this candidate 4 has done and listing those results completely? How do you get there if you look on your own professional experience? So basically, of course, always a little bit depending on how much experience you have already or what you have done in certain work experience in previous jobs, but then also in projects you might had at university or volunteering projects you had on the side. Think about what are your concrete achievements that you had there in terms of 3 things: time, safety, and money. So if we're talking about time, where have you made experiences in previous jobs or previous projects where you did something quicker than expected? Or maybe what is something that you can do quicker than other people? Yeah, also thinking about here, let's say if you're still quite at the young age, maybe looking more for entry-level jobs. Yeah, if you're this generation Z, you know, the digital natives, I think you're much quicker than a person who is 10 or 20 or 30 years older to get involved in certain new technologies. Also, that could be something like that. but then also from other previous experiences. Where have you made processes quicker? Where have you improved efficiencies? Where have you maybe automated things that now everything works much, much quicker than before? If we come to safety, also very important point, where have you reduced risks or made processes safer? Maybe, I mean, cybersecurity is such a big thing nowadays. Where have you maybe discovered certain data leaks and prevented certain risks around that? Or that could also be, when we're talking about safety, where have you created certain policies that got then implemented that reduced risks in the company or increased the safety? And of course, then as a third step, the most important pillar, and I think it's maybe also the most clear, but it's of course at the end, it's all about money. Right? So if you have anything where you can prove, have you increased the profit? Have you done anything that led to more customers? That, of course, can also bring the company more money. Have you done anything that increased or improved the reputation of the company? Also, that can be related to a safety measure. Yeah, if you introduce certain safety measures, that increases the reputation of the company. That also brings them more profit at the end. Or something where the satisfaction of your customers increased, better ratings, better Google reviews, and then more people booked certain service or more people bought a certain product. That also increased the profit. Where have you increased the quality? That and further led to higher customer satisfaction and so on. I think you get the point. But that, of course, it also means that you have to know the company you're applying for or your future employer a little bit. Yeah, that you have to read a little bit between the lines. Okay, they have this job open now, but what is it actually that they want to achieve? And of course, there can also be differences between companies that, I mean, at the end, most of them, of course, it's about money. But let's say in terms of time and safety, of course, there can be differences. Yeah, if you apply to a startup, of course, they might be willing to take much more risks, but they want things quick. They want to grow fast. Whereas, of course, if you apply, let's say, to a bank or financial institution, of course, there it's more about safety. They better do a process and take a little bit more time for a decision, but their most important part is safety. Yeah, so you have to know this employer a little bit. What are they really aiming for? What are their values? How do they work? But of course, also at the end, what is the benefit they are hoping for to hire a person? I mean, I sometimes feel like, or let's say, it's of course not that a company hires just because they have nothing better to do. Yeah, I mean that they have a certain intention with that. That of course, if they open a position that they say, okay, we are ready to invest thousands, 10,000, 100,000 euros per year in paying a salary to a person for that specific task. Of course, we also want to see the profit at the end, that this investment pays off. So it's also a little bit about this entrepreneurial thinking. Yeah. Or if I would say, hey, I hire a person to improve and to optimize my website, because that is also an investment that I would do, because I'm hoping to get more customer leads and to get more, or to achieve a higher turnover at the end. So I first invest in paying a person, hiring someone, but of course that investment should pay off in terms of you deliver me the results that I want. And there you have to understand a little bit, okay, who is that company or who is that employer on the other end? And then of course, second specific part, because as we said, that market with all those possibilities for remote jobs, of course it can be overwhelming. And also there, that you bundle your energy in a concrete or in the correct way, that you apply also to the positions where your strength that you figured out in terms of time, safety, money, which value do you bring to the table where this really fits best? Because, and again, if you want to be specific as hell with your profile and with your job application, that also means you have to focus on quality instead of quantity. Yeah, it doesn't work when you try to create 20, 50 or even more job applications per week, because then it's clear you have to be that quick if you want to achieve that. Basically, you cannot really focus on researching who is the company, what are they really doing, what are they really looking for, what might be important for them, also what are my particular strengths if I'm thinking about everything that I have done in the past. What are the things that I could really use to demonstrate, hey, I have what you need and I can make that happen and I bring that to the table. So therefore, focusing on quality, just select the few jobs that really match your profile and then invest your energy into that to bring out the best possible profile that you can create for that. And I mean, then, of course, we're talking a lot about job search here, but the thing is then also, again, and I think that's also, once again, more like a mindset thing of, let's say, what would you actually like to get out of that? That it's not just anymore, okay, I just want a job. Yeah, I just want a job. But if you're really able to identify such a position and communicate how your profile with all the achievements you had in the past really fits to that, and you're really able to nail that and show the value that you bring to the table, I mean, then the question is not then just not only, okay, do you get the job, but then of course also how high will the salary be? Yeah, how much will the company pay you for that value that you bring? And of course, there are differences there again. That if it's more about entry-level jobs, it's clear maybe the result or the value you can bring in, it cannot be that high in comparison to a person with 10 years of experience. But then it's again on the employer side, the question, how much do they want to invest? If they want to invest less, they might go for more like an entry-level position. If they want to invest something more, they would more go with an experienced person. But that question of making clear which value I bring to the table and what value does that create for the company, that is actually, I mean, not just about remote jobs, but also if we talk about finding a job in Finland, basically that's the whole story. And that was also what brought me that position that I got at Fortum, and also what I've seen from friends that I have here who come from abroad as well and who landed jobs in Finnish companies. That basically that was just this one little, let's say, secret formula of the value that we brought to the company. And of course, we had to be confident in communicating which value we bring to the company. But that value, it completely outruled the fact that, oh, we don't speak Finnish. Because as I said, that was what Fortum said to me, like, we would be stupid if we would not consider you for that position. I mean, that's the effect that ideally you should achieve, or you should want to achieve on a future's employer side as well. And that has, of course, a lot to do with the own mindset and the own self-confidence. And maybe, I don't know how you're now sitting in front of your screen, if you're feeling like, okay, whoo, now I know what to do and let's go, and I have no problems to nail it down and I'm ready to go. Or if you're maybe now a bit like, am I actually that good? Can I actually say that about myself? You know, this imposter syndrome. I think we all know that. Basically means if you have thoughts like, oh, I'm not that good. Yeah, or this achievement that I had in the past with a job, Actually, it was not that special. Or, hey, actually, I was just lucky. It was even not just me. It was the team and somebody else did this. Actually, I didn't do that much about it, right? Or I don't want to sound arrogant. I mean, we live in Finland. People here are very modest, yeah, are very, very humble. That can also be a little threat. Yeah, if you get that mentality the whole day, and I can also tell you Germany is very different. If you look on US Americans, they might be able to do exactly the same as you, but they stand there like, hey, this is the biggest shit you have ever seen, you know? Like where you're like, okay, whoa. It just turns out afterwards they're actually they are in Germany we say they only just cook with water too. Yeah, they are not doing anything else that you, but the way of showing up, the way of speaking up, that is not dominated by thoughts of, oh, I don't want to sound arrogant, or maybe I'm actually not that good, or what if I say that now and then they expect too much from me. So, but of course, if you look on all those jobs remotely, I mean, those are basically then also the people who are you competing with, right? Who have such a mindset, who have that self-confidence. Therefore, this imposter syndrome and having these thoughts of, oh, I'm not that good, and this achievement was just luck, and not wanting to sound arrogant, it's feeding this downward spiral again that we had at the beginning. Yeah, you start with those doubts about yourself, or maybe, am I actually that good, or probably not. Again, this might lower your self-confidence. You're less able to recognize your strengths. That might decrease your chances to land a job. But basically, and especially about looking for a job remotely, I mean, keep in mind that you are one out of many. You might be one out of thousands. So basically, you have no other choice than just standing there and saying, hey, here I am, and this is what I'm able to do, and look at me, and those are my strengths, and those are my achievements. This is the only chance that you have. And by the way, this kind of pose, yeah, you can try that out yourself after the webinar. If you just stand up and just put yourself into this pose for a couple of minutes, it's actually doing a lot to your self-confidence. I once had a mental coach. He let me do that every morning after getting up. That I had to stand in my living room and saying, I'm a winner, I achieve everything that I want. Doing that every morning, believe me, it also does something with your own mindset. So you could also try that out. But then, of course, if it comes to the job search, if it comes to how you present yourself in your own job profile, this is definitely the attitude that you need to keep in mind. And once again, being specific as hell with this. So what have you achieved in the past in terms of time, safety, or money, or the combination of that? What is the value that you can bring to the table? All right. I like talking about this topic. I really get slightly emotional whenever I do that. But now, of course, the question, now that we went through that, do we somebody here who wants to try that? Who now would like to talk with me and saying, hey, I have this kind of profile, or I would like to other stakeholders, to managers, then it might be that, or I think then also naturally a higher level of English is required. Yeah, so that very highly depends on the company and the actual job description. And I think it's not, if it's not crystal clear there, of course, there should also be always the possibility to ask if you have a contact person. This is what I would do.
I maybe add a little bit from my perspective. I will recommend Ludmila to at least go for some trainings in English to pass the interview, because sometimes people couldn't pass the interview because you became a little bit stressed out, you became a little bit shy, and that's might affect your English level, and it's downgrade from B1 to A2 or A, and then it's pretty difficult to, show your professionalism in your field. So that's why I think that it's will be nice to at least prepare for the interview process on a better level. So then you can present at least yourself and speak fluently about your field. But the rest fields, it's maybe that was my idea when I was watching.
Yeah, also very good point. I mean, I can also say from my own experience, I also had it once that I had a super good candidate that applied for one position at Fortum when I was still there and hiring. And the CV was super good. And then I just noticed in the interview, the English of the person, I mean, she was fluent, but she just had a super strong accent. Because I was from an Asian country. And of course, I think she had just moved to Finland very recently. And of course, that can happen if you're there speaking English only in your home country and all people have kind of the same accent that nobody might tell you. But it was just when I recognized in the job interview, okay, I am able to understand her to 80%, but I know a lot of my Finnish team members, their English is not that good neither, and there would be a problem. So that it was then unfortunately also I had to go with a different candidate. But actually I gave her that feedback also, if I thought like, okay, maybe now this is a bit harsh to do that, but then she was also thankful for that she actually knew what to improve at the end. So I think taking maybe some courses is a good point.
Sure.
All right. I think we definitely have time for a couple of more questions at the end. I would just move on now, and then we take all the other questions. If there are still any, we can take them later. But I mean, it's of course clear. Also now in this little hot seat coaching, as we have just demonstrated it, that yes, it can be difficult to figure out your own strengths also just by yourself if you don't have any guidance. And of course, and also if you have those self-doubts that pop up on a regular basis, how to overcome them. And that definitely requires practice. And this is also why I love to combine the career coaching with those psychological angle and with those psychological tools, because they are really proven methods from the psychology field, how to let's say stabilize your mental state. So there are methods that are used by professional athletes and mental trainers. And maybe, I don't know if you have watched the Olympics a couple of weeks ago, where you have professional athletes who are there, prepared themselves for 4 years for this one moment where they have to deliver and where they have to perform. And I mean, this is of course, this is a huge mental pressure that you have to handle. And it is super tricky to do that just by yourself, and especially if you don't know any of those methods. So therefore they're super helpful things where you are first also as a job seeker, not just as a professional athlete, but also as a job seeker, where you're able to first identify your own competences, similar to that what we have now just demonstrated. And also if you have any limiting beliefs or any limiting thoughts, how can you overcome them? So then basically healing this imposter syndrome, what is holding you back and what is keeping you small, so that you are then able to present yourself as best as possible. And then of course resilience is the big question. Of course we all face struggles, we all face rejections, we all face situations where we are hearing some bad news, but then it's also the question about resilience. How quickly are you able to pull yourself out of a bad mood again? You face a rejection now, but there is another possibility coming tomorrow, or you have another job interview coming tomorrow. How do you put yourself into a mood that you can still go there and you're back in your full energy again and you're able to present yourself well? And exactly for that reason, I have actually created an online course, and we also agreed with Julia that I'm allowed to pitch that here now. So that is all planned. But I mean, especially now that we have this super tough time at the moment in Finland with the super high unemployment rate, it's of course a huge topic. It might also be something that really dominates your everyday life, but it's also where I thought, or where I want to keep, or want people to keep in mind, hey, you're more than your employment status, and it so much depends about your mindset and the mental strength that you have to then, that you are able to identify your core skills and your core competences and present that in a confident way. So therefore, this online course is that mental shift and your strength identifier. And besides those psychological methods, it also comes with a 48 minutes long masterclass about the 9 steps for a successful job application that I'm teaching to people for quite a while now. If you're now thinking, okay, why 9 steps? I only could name 3 or 4. That's usually the issue, that people forget about half of those steps. That's why this masterclass is there. So how this course works is that it's an online platform where first you find an empowering audio track. This thing is 6 minutes long that will definitely help you to shift your energy immediately. So if you're in a low mood, or if you feel insecure or desperate just before a job interview, take those 6 minutes, listen to that. I promise you, you will feel completely different after that. And then furthermore, in this online course, you have 5 learning videos based on those psychological methods that you can focus on your strengths, that you stabilize your self-confidence. Also, more from the career coaching aspect, a method how you can explore the market, testing certain ideas, what to focus on, also a little bit similar to what we have just discussed with Ludmila. And then also one tool how to overcome your limiting thoughts. Plus this masterclass, how to create a high quality job application. So I was also wondering how long could I actually just talk about that, and turned out it was even more than 55 minutes long. So that video and this masterclass is included there as well. Plus, it comes with a workbook that you can download where you have all these steps in written, where you have space for your own notes, and you have templates how a good CV looks like, same as a cover letter. Yes. Price for this online course, because I wanted to make it affordable also for job seekers, it's 89 euros. Access for that you will remain for your whole lifetime. And I mean, I definitely like it when people make quick decisions. I'm also such a person myself. I think that's also a mindset thing, that I thought, okay, if you decide now quickly that I will give the first 5 bookings of that course that reach me from this audience, you get 1 extra 101 session with me for free that I would normally sell for 100 euros. So you can find the link to that order form either here from the slide or by scanning that QR code. So that was what I wanted to share. And if we now have any questions still in the chat or from anyone else, I would of course be happy to answer them. And I think, Julia, we're actually then quite good in time, right?
Yes, we have very nice timing. So we answered the question from Ludmila, who've been asking about personal consultation.
Yes.
Here you can find a link. And
Yes.
I don't see any more questions, guys. If you have one, probably we can answer.
Yeah.
But if not,
maybe I just also quickly say, I mean, Ludmila, I would be super happy talking to you, but I think it would also be a good idea, because then I think the session could be even more effective if you, because it's also the idea of, if you walk through this online course first, you have a lot of information already. So then if we have this 101 session that you would now get if you're quick, completely for free, then of course we can really also focus on more details, and you have a lot of good basics already that you would bring to that session.
Very good suggestion. About the recording, as I see, we are doing the recording right now, but sometimes it happens that we, by some reason, didn't get it from Google Meets. So if we have it, so then we probably can share it if Michaela can allow that.
Of course, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So
But
then,
I can also send you the slides, of course, from that
yeah,
webinar. That is,
yeah. Okay.
whatever Google Meet is now, whatever mood it has, if it works or not, but then you would definitely get the slides.
Here is a very nice question. Are there a difference between remote and non-remote jobs regarding what you talked about?
It's a good question. I think, let's say, even if we talk about non-remote jobs, I think still most of the jobs nowadays are in this hybrid mode. I think there are only a few employers and a few jobs where you are really required to come to the office or to be there every time in presence. I think I said at the beginning, of course, if you have such a hybrid job, or as you would call it, a non-remote job, of course, it means that it is more local. That also decreases the pool of candidates that can apply for this job. Yeah, I mean, we know like Helsinki is, let's say, in comparison to other European capitals, it's quite a small city. Of course, if you have a job opening here, which is supposed to be here, which is supposed to be local, of course, the pool of candidates cannot be that big. Whereas then if you go for a remote job that is available worldwide, that everyone could do, no matter if people are located in Europe or in the US or in Asia, of course, then the pool of candidates gets much bigger. So there you have to be even more specific to stand out. I think big advantage, of course, for a local or hybrid or non-remote job is, of course, that you might have a chance to maybe have the hiring manager somewhere in your local network already, right? Like here in Finland, I mean, we have that very often, that you know someone who knows someone who knows the person, because the country is that small. That of course could be a possibility also to reach out to such a person in advance, to maybe briefly introduce yourself already. Whereas then for a remote job, if you apply to a company who's like located in the US, of course, it gets a bit more tricky. It's more anonymous. So I think there it's even more important that you nail your profile, that it fits exactly to what the company is looking for. And beyond that, as we have seen with this, with that example where I wanted to demonstrate you, how is it going if you would apply for this hotel as a Spanish native for doing their Instagram marketing.
Mm-hmm. I'm Harita asking, any suggestions about people who have changed careers in their late 30s? That space feels a little unexplored in terms of whether we should be aiming for junior roles, mid senior roles, and if we should keep remove the previous experience, since it's very different in industries. So.
Yeah, very good question. I've seen that a lot. Let's say if you remove your previous experience, of course, it always causes some questions if the hiring manager or the recruiter looks on your CV and let's say there's a huge gap. Yeah, if it's, I mean, you always have to list what you have studied or where you come from. And of course, if there's a huge gap of let's say 10 years of experience because you thought, okay, I better remove what I've done before, that might lead to a lot of questions and also a little bit of mistrust. So I would definitely keep it there, and also always explain why you are now changing careers. So what is your motivation behind that? Yeah, is there a certain personal interest, or were you forced to change careers because you have moved to a different country and the job that you had before in your home country didn't exist here? So I would be very honest about that. And then if it comes for aiming for junior or senior roles, it's a super tricky thing, because there it depends a little bit how also HR colleagues or recruiters and then also hiring managers interpret your experience. Because what is very important to keep in mind, what a lot of companies do is when you or when they hire for a junior position, it means that they have a budget for a junior position, or let's say for a trainee position, or an entry level. And then if you come there and it's then visible that you have 10 years of experience already, they easily conclude of, hey, you're not a junior anymore. By our policies, that means for that experience that you have, we have to pay you more money as we have budgeted now here, and then you're out.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I understand if you're saying now, yeah, but I don't have experience in that field. I think it's more that, you keep your experience, you still apply for maybe a mid-senior role, but you still communicate it in a way of, hey, I've done this before, then I changed because of this and this, and what are still the learnings from my previous profession that I can still utilize.
Mm-hmm. And I would like to thank you, Michaela, for your answer. I just wanted to add that 19th of March, we will have a webinar with Gianluca, who will speak about exactly this topic,
Okay,
about
great.
switching careers from one track to another. And everyone is welcome. I'm sending a link here in the chat. So Harita, join us there. And I believe that this is a very, very important questions for all of us, and we just haven't got enough time to cover it from the all angles.
Yeah.
And Maria asking, should we? And I believe that might be our last question.
Okay.
How do you think? Yeah. Should we add hiring managers on LinkedIn, send messages or emails? What do you think about the hiring process?
Yeah, nice question. And I know a lot of people also struggle with that. A question is more, with what intention do you contact the hiring manager beforehand? And just sending a LinkedIn contact request, or just sending a message on LinkedIn in terms of, oh, I've seen you have a position open and I would like to apply. I can tell you, if you are in a position of a hiring manager, you get tons of those messages and requests every day. If you're currently have a position open, and then it just feels like, okay, another one. So there's not really a person who stands out. Same if you just send an email of, oh, I'm interested in this position and I would like to apply. What you should do, and what I always recommend to people, and this is actually also in this 9 steps to a job application, this is one important step, because that you reach or try to reach out to the hiring manager beforehand by either calling or writing an email by asking specific questions for this role. And this is also, with this, first you signal the clear interest, that it's not just for, oh, I want a job, but then it's more like, I want this job and I'm really confident that I can be your perfect fit. And let's say if we take that example that we had with Lyudmila a couple of minutes ago, also there, if you approach a hiring manager either on the phone or via an email and you say, hey, you have this position open and I know this regulation is now on the table and I have a feeling I know what you're going through and you have to implement this by 2030. That position that you have open, do I understand correctly that the tasks would be this, or that I would work with these tools, or that it would be this project, then whatever the open position says, go more into the details. I mean, no job description or no vacancy is 100% crystal clear that you have a complete picture of that role. If you think a little bit through, there will always be some questions that might pop up in your mind when you read it through. So use the chance to call the hiring manager or write an email in that way, that you first approach them of, hey, I know what this is about, I know what you're going through. Then you ask your 1, 2, 3 questions. Of course, on the phone, that always works a little bit better, because you can you hear the answer directly, you have a chance to ask again. They also get the impression, oh, you're a nice person, you're easy to talk with. Yeah, very important also for considering you as a potential candidate. But then even if you do it via email, it's something concrete. And the more concrete you ask these questions, that also gives the impression of, okay, there somebody, this person knows what he or she is talking about. And if I would get those emails back in the days as a hiring manager, that it's actually also more fun to me to reply to that, because I have the feeling, okay, I'm talking to an expert here, I'm talking to an interested person. And then, if you create this interest, then your name is already in the back of the mind of a hiring manager, much better than if you would just send a LinkedIn request. And then if they have their 100, 200, 300 candidates, they still might think, okay, in the list of all those names, where was this person that asked me that question that sounded interesting, so I would do it that way.
Thank you, Michaela, and thank you everyone who've been staying with us for almost 1 hour and a half. That was like very intensive and long session, but we had so many knowledges. Anton, did you? Yeah, Anton tried to send a reaction.
All right.
Raise his hand.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys. You've been a very nice audience with a very
Yes, it was fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Michaela. That was very, very interesting. And I've been also always thinking that why I have this imposter syndrome? Even if you have a job, we
could do something about that,
you still have this imposter syndrome, but and of course it will grow and blow when you are in a job search situation. But guys, don't let that be so much, so big. Yeah, control it. Okay, thank you so much, Michaela. That was
Thank you all. It was fun. Thank you for having me. And of course, we will share the material.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.